patrons, thanks for joining me as we take a look at your weekend forecast for the long weekend here, October 7th through the 10th. And also, welcome to everybody else as you're going to get my patrons forecast this week because I actually am not available to forecast on Friday morning. So everybody gets the patron forecast this week. So if you're like, wow, they get our forecast on Wednesdays? Yes, that's one of the things that patrons get from me. So if you're getting this on Wednesday and you're like, I'd like to do that every week, there is a link in the description below that talks about how you can become my patron and how that gives you the opportunity to get a Wednesday forecast for each weekend. And particularly as we head towards winter and that gets a little more significant, I would encourage you to at least think about doing that. Okay. What's going on across the country? Not a lot going on weather-wise. We have still the remnants of Ian as kind of a cutoff area of low pressure here across the mid-Atlantic that's been spinning clouds in our direction, really been affecting our weather for the last several days. Finally, this is going to start heading out. We may actually get a few sprinkles out of this afternoon, for Wednesday afternoon. I think most of that, though, probably won't really get in here. This storm will finally slide to the east as the pattern starts to finally get moving again. And then this front approaches for Friday. This is really our only weather maker for the weekend. It's not too significant. You'll see certainly on radar that this is not that impressive. It's going to swing through with a few sprinkles on Friday afternoon, maybe a brief downpour, and very brief, I would say, more just kind of pop-up showers. And then after that swings through, the weather is pretty tame for the rest of the weekend. We're going to be cool, and we'll be quite cold just to our north. I think we're going to avoid most of the coldest weather, but we'll be quite cool, or seasonably cool, I would say, for this time of year. And we're going to see quite a bit of sun, although not full sun, probably some afternoon clouds, both Saturday and Sunday, as well as Monday as we head through the weekend. So let's take a look at, as I said, at that radar here. Here you can see there are some sprinkles heading around. There was some radar echoes over New Hampshire earlier this afternoon that seemed like maybe they were pointing in the direction of us getting some rain here across southern New Hampshire. That does not seem to be really hitting the ground from all that I can tell from surface observation. So I think we're going to stay dry, but definitely the clouds are still around with this system. Here's our front. You can see there's not exactly a lot of moisture associated with this front as it comes through. It's got a decent amount of temperature change, but the real temperature shift kind of goes from here in southern Canada up into more central Canada. I don't think this colder air is really going to make its way towards us too much as we head through the weekend. A little bit earlier, it looked like we might get a real shot of a couple of days of real cold this weekend, but chilly, but not that cold. So let's take a look at the forecast. Okay, so Friday, mid-60s. It's going to be warm. Tomorrow's pretty warm, up in the 60s. Could be in the low 70s tomorrow on Thursday. Friday, if we got sun, we'd get into the 70s, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think the front's going to approach with too many clouds to get us quite there. But upper 60s, unless we get some sun, in which case we'd be lower 70s. Sprinkles, like I said, nothing to write home about. No real big issue with any of this or anything, but just be aware that you could have some sprinkles in the afternoon. So be prepared for that. We do keep the clouds around. It won't be completely cloudy on Friday night, but we keep them around. Temperatures in the low 30s Friday night. So we still haven't seen a hard freeze for most areas at least in Bennington and Windham counties. So in those areas, just continue to, if you want to keep trying to limp along those those vegetables as long as you can try. Again, we're running out of sun, so it doesn't really matter at some point here. But anywho, October 8th, or Saturday, the 8th, we've got temperatures in the low 50s. Saturday is the coolest day as we do get that shot of cooler air. Also the sunniest day probably of the weekend. Overnight, we get down to about freezing. Some of us will be a little bit below freezing on Saturday night. Temperatures in the low 30s. Sunday, touch warmer, mid-50s. A few more clouds on Sundays, particularly in the afternoon. Temperatures in the low 30s overnight Sunday into Monday. And then Monday, for your holiday, 55 degrees on average temperatures, either side of mid-50s. Again, mix of sun and clouds, particularly in the afternoon. And again, we clear out. We do start to warm up a little bit towards the middle of next week, it looks like, as we head forward. Let's take a look at those highlights. Mostly dry weekend, seasonably chilly. We're probably average of upper 50s to around 60 this time of year. We're going to be in the mid-50s for a lot of the weekend. Great weekend for fall foliage. Should be a really good weekend to get out there and see the foliage. We're close to peak here in southern Vermont, so you can't go wrong there. A few showers possible Friday afternoon. And cold weather is not that too far to our north. Like I said, it looks like it won't. We won't tap it this time. Maybe the weekend after. The long-term, long-range forecast looks like our first chance to really tap some real cold air would maybe be the weekend after that, although it's way too early to tell if that's really going to happen or not. But we are getting into that time of year when we can see some of those mid or low 20s kind of mornings, and flurries are even starting to become something that wouldn't be unusual to see this time of year. Okay, thanks for joining me for this weekend forecast. I want to thank my patrons again who always get this forecast. And if you're interested in becoming a patron, you can follow the link below. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would encourage you to do so, as it helps make sure you don't miss any of these videos. We'll see you not on Friday and not on Monday, because with the long weekend, I'll get a forecast to you Tuesday morning, your work week forecast for next week. All right, we'll see you Tuesday.